Did you know that Vincent van Gogh only sold one painting in his lifetime? He and several other world-famous artists like him stayed broke their entire lives, only to have their artwork make millions once they were gone. But some other artists have had the opposite fate. They find what they're good at and make a fortune with it while they're alive. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at 15 artists who suddenly got rich. Welcome to Alux, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're new here, join the family, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're always the first to see our new videos. Now let's get straight to it today. Number 1. Damien Hirst. While some artists focus on making things look aesthetically pleasing, Damien Hirst is someone who focuses on death. Death is the central theme in most of his works, and well, as creepy as his artwork may be sometimes, it's striking enough to grab your attention and keep it. Because of the effect, he's able to bring in insane buyers that just want a piece of his creative genius. Even though Hirst had been making more than a decent living off of his art throughout his life, the point where he suddenly got rich was literally an overnight thing. On the 15th and 16th of September 2008, Hirst did something that artists didn't really do at the time. He bypassed selling his art to a gallery and sold his artwork directly to the public with his exhibition called Beautiful Inside My Head Forever. And during those 2 days alone, he made $198 million, making him a multi-millionaire overnight. Number 2. Banksy. Banksy is one of those names that everyone seems to know regardless of whether or not they're into art. And he isn't just an artist, he's pretty much a movement all on his own. Even though the artist himself is unknown, working under a pseudonym, his work has transcended all borders and made news worldwide. But even then, the artwork that really put his name at the top of every household was one called Girl with Balloon. It sold for $1.4 million in October 2018 at a Sotheby's auction. And the second it was sold, a hidden paper shredder inside started shredding the painting, signifying how the world is okay with spending several $1,000,000 on a piece of art. However, the paper shredder got stuck, only shredding the painting halfway instead of entirely, but this ended up only increasing the art piece's value. The buyer renamed it Love is in the Bin and sold it at the Sotheby's Contemporary Art Sale on the 14th of October 2021 for $29.5 million, making it one of the most expensive pieces of artwork ever sold, and with it catapulted Banksy to new heights of fame and success. And speaking of the most expensive artwork, if you've ever wondered about what people have paid for paintings, check out our video on the top 10 most expensive artworks ever sold, and you'll be shocked. Okay, back to today's video. Number 3. David Choe. Graffiti artists often spend their entire lives hiding away in the shadows, doing their own thing. That's what David Choe thought he was going to do too, but life had other plans for him. Millionaire plans. Back in the early 2000s, when Choe was still graffitiing walls, his work caught the eye of Sean Parker, who was the president of Facebook before Facebook had really blown up. He asked Choe to paint lots of murals around all the Facebook headquarters. Choe hated the concept of social media at the time, so he quoted him a price of $60,000 for the entire building and got to work. When he was done, Parker offered him a choice between going for the $60K in cash or picking up $60K worth of company stock instead. He told them that picking the stock might do him good in the future, and Choe went for it. When Facebook went public, the stock he owned ended up at an insane $200 million, making him a millionaire overnight. Number 4. Jeff Koons. We all grew up fascinated by balloon animals, even if that fascination was kinda short-lived. But Jeff Koons is an artist that takes that fascination and reignites it. His signature right now is balloon animal art that he's made entirely of metal. These aren't just little sculptures, they're giant ones that will definitely catch your eye. One of his most famous ones was the balloon dog, which was literally a giant metal sculpture of a balloon dog. At the Christie's New York auction house in 2013, this sculpture was sold for $58.4 million. And although Jeff was a pretty well-known artist back then, this was the sculpture that made him suddenly rich. Number 5. Jasper Johns. Pop art is a genre that's made its rounds several times over the past couple of decades, but did you ever think about where it all came from? Well, you have Jasper Johns to thank for that. With his work on creating unique ways to express ordinary things, he pretty much created pop art. Insanely complicated pop art isn't the reason why he's on the list today, though. It's one of the simplest paintings you will ever see. It's simply called Flag, and it was so moving that it's still being sold for over $35 million. By the end of his life, Jasper had accumulated a hefty fortune of $300 million. Number 6. Gerhard Richter. Gerhard Richter creates a type of art that not everyone understands. He creates pieces that are blurred. That means that he'll go around painting whatever he wants to and then takes a squeegee and scrapes it all around. His idea is to blur everything. As he says, I blur things to make everything equally important and unimportant. And well, that might seem absolutely crazy, it's actually pretty smart and it's gotten a lot of people's attention. So much so that in 2020, one of his art pieces named Abstractus Build sold for a whopping $27.6 million. Now that's a one way to make a fortune. Number 7. Takashi Murakami. Some artists make it big by playing it safe, while others do it by going all out. Takashi Murakami is the latter of the two. He takes everything a step too far and goes ham with what he creates without a care in the world. That means that a lot of his work is often on the riskier side, and well, the riskier it is, the more it can sell for. His work has been so unique through his life that he was the only visual artist on Time's list of 100 most influential people in 2008. And even though we know Takashi today as the master of super flat art, the piece that really made him richer was My Lonesome Cowboy, which sold for an insane $13.5 million in 2008 at Sotheby's New York auction, and it's worth significantly more today. Number 8. Andrew Vicari. There are artists in the world that are so humble that they wouldn't even talk about their own work for over a minute. And then there's Andrew Vicari. The man literally says it like it is. He calls himself the king of painters because he knows he's a big deal. For decades, he's been making elaborate paintings featuring the wealthiest, most famous people in the world. And while a lot of his paintings were sold separately, in 2001, Prince Khaled of Saudi Arabia bought $43 million worth of his paintings. And with that, he secured a place on the list of the richest painters in Britain. Number 9. Anish Kapoor. Most of the time, art exists in the world of art, always away from everyone else. Unless you're really into art, you don't really see specific art pieces. But Anish Kapoor is an artist that transcends this entirely. He's the person that created the Chicago bean. That alone made around $23 million. This man is so talented in creating simple but elaborate art that he sometimes doesn't even have to name it. His piece, called Untitled, sold for $3.8 million in 2003. With pieces like that selling one after the other, the man has become a sensation in the art world and an artist that suddenly got insanely wealthy. Number 10. David Hockney. David Hockney is another major name in the pop art industry. His pieces were all very simple but intriguing and pleasant to look at. While a lot of people didn't really understand what was so special about his work, others couldn't wait to drop millions on it. One of the biggest examples of that is his work called Pool with Two Figures. This painting was a part of a whole exhibition, but it just happened to catch the eye of several millionaires. So much so, they fought over this painting. By the time the hammer struck sold, the bid stood at $90.3 million, instantly making him one of the most expensive living artists in the entire world. Number 11. Beeple. A lot of artists on our list today are traditional artists. They've made paintings or sculptures, tangible, fungible stuff. But Beeple, he created multi-million dollars worth of art that you can't even touch. But to own it, you'll have to drop some serious cash. Beeple used to sell art for about $50 to $100 only, but when he dove into the world of NFTs, he blew up. His NFT called Everydays, the first 5,000 days, sold at a Christie's auction for an insane $69 million. With this crazy sale, he really solidified people's faith in the fact that NFTs can make millions and it's a legit field to go into. And thousands of artists followed in Beeple's very fortunate footsteps. He didn't just open the doors to success for himself, but also for every other artist that has ever made it big through NFTs after him. Number 12. Pack. While NFT success still seems like something that people just get lucky with, more than a few people have made it through NFTs, and Pack is one of them. He came up with a unique way to sell his NFTs, one that nobody had really done before. The artist set up his own monster sale where the general public was allowed to buy his NFTs. It was held through the digital sphere of Nifty Gallery. 26,000 participating collectors came together to buy the NFT, and when the sale closed, the money he made was unbelievable. He made $91 million from this one NFT alone, and with it, suddenly became one of the richest artists of all time. Number 13. Antony Gormley. Antony Gormley is the type of artist that makes a bold statement with each piece of art he creates. The man literally doesn't know what the term low-key means. He does massive art installations that will take your breath and a lot of your money away. There are several dozen art installations that he set up all over the world, but the one that really stood apart was Eventorizen. That wasn't just striking, but would also really make you think about the world around you. Just one of the models used in one of his installations called Angel of the North sold for almost $5 million. Overall, Antony has been able to put his name in history as one of the most successful artists that suddenly got rich by accumulating a fortune of over $60 million. All by himself. Number 14. XCOPY. Remember Tumblr? What used to be known as the random site for emo kids actually ended up being a platform where people from all walks of life come together to display the art they created or loved. And XCOPY was one of those people. He began creating GIFs back in the Tumblr days and didn't even know that they'd one day suddenly make him rich. Those GIFs ended up becoming NFTs, and his NFTs were such a massive success that he'd made $61 million just from minting them alone. He never thought that his years-old artwork would come in handy the way it did and change his entire life. Number 15. Yayoi Kusama. Artists create art all the time, but not all of them can be art too. Yayoi Kusama has a way of matching her artworks, so you get a bit of a package deal at like every art exhibition. Her signature is to use lots of dots and incorporate mirror rooms into the installations to go so big that the world has to see her work. Sometimes she makes art just because she wants to. Other times she lets them get auctioned off. On average, one of her art pieces can easily bring in $15 million, and she sells several of them a year. And not only did she suddenly get rich the first time her artwork was sold, but she continues to get richer every single day. And lastly, Aluxer, as a bonus for sticking with us until the end, did you know that several huge artists like Michelangelo, Jasper Johns, and Claude Monet destroyed their own work? Surprisingly, a lot of artists straight up obliterate their own work because they just didn't like it or what it represented. If they didn't, their work would have made them even more money, making them even richer. Just some food for thought for any struggling artists out there. Thank you for watching this video, Aluxer. If you found it valuable, consider subscribing to our channel and joining our awesome community. And if you're still hungry for more, we handpicked this video for you to watch next, or head over to our website for more amazing content. See you tomorrow.